Mm-hmm.
Well, hi, folks, and thank you for joining us at the Mercer University Professional Development Series. We're excited that you are with us for another week, and I can't tell you how excited I am about today's topic. So one of the very interesting and very cool things about Mercer University is that we have got partners all over the metro Atlanta area, all over the Macon-Bibb area, all over the state of Georgia, frankly, all over the world. And today we have the privilege of not just hearing from one of our faculty members, but also from some of our partners. Today we are talking about digital fitness, which is a kind of a new concept and a new idea. We're familiar with physical fitness, we're familiar with emotional fitness and other types of fitness, but this idea of digital fitness is a new idea. And we are excited to have our partners with us to talk about it. So to begin our conversation, I want to introduce you to one of our faculty members, an instructor of accounting, Stephanie Morris. Stephanie, I am going to give you the floor and let you introduce our partners as we talk a little bit about digital fitness. I'm excited to hear about it. So the floor is yours.
Very good. Thank you. Good morning. We're so glad you could join us for this webinar. I am especially excited to join two friends and fellow Mercerians this morning. We have Tiffany Mauldin and Carly Williams joining our webinar. Tiffany and Carly and I were Mercer Bears together. We were even sorority sisters. So we go way back with our Mercer roots. And Tiffany and I continue to UGA together for graduate school. So let me briefly introduce my friends. Tiffany is a 2000 graduate from Mercer University and a 2001 Masters of Accounting graduate from the University of Georgia. She continues to serve the Mercer community through the Tift College Alumni Board. She is a CPA and she is currently a partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers tax practice in Houston, Texas. Her industry focus is on retail and consumer, industrial products, and energy. Tiffany currently serves as the Greater Texas Consumer Markets Tax Leader. Carly Williams is a 1997 graduate of Mercer University. Carly serves on the School of Business Board of Visitors at Mercer. She is the National Talent Identification Leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and she is responsible for the overall early identification and experience sourcing strategies of PwC in the U.S. She leads PricewaterhouseCoopers' efforts to attract, engage, and hire entry-level professionals and interns. So as you can see, Tiffany and Carly are quite a dynamic duo, and we are excited to hear what they have to share with us this morning. I'll turn it over to you girls.
Wonderful, thanks so much. Tiffany, you want to start with your introduction about your rise in PwC?
Yeah, absolutely. So first I might just say, thanks to Stephanie and the rest of the business school for allowing us to come and talk to you guys today. It's always exciting to come back to Mercer's campus because it does have such a special place in my history, both as a person and how I grew into the person that I am today, but also from a professional standpoint, really giving me that foundation that I needed to go on to Mercer and on to UGA and then to PwC. And it just gave me a great foundation and building block to be the person that I am today at the firm. I think it gave me a lot of great leadership opportunities and gave me a couple of hard knocks too. I don't know if any of you guys ever knew Dr. Austin. I know he is retired, but he probably gave me my biggest heart attack of my entire career from first intermediate accounting all the way to being a partner. So and something that I never will forget how he impacted me. But a little bit about myself. So I am a tax partner in the federal practice, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, based here in Houston. But I didn't start in Houston. So after Mercer, after the University of Georgia, or while during at the University of Georgia, I was at an accounting event and I ran into Carly Williams, who I remembered from Mercer, obviously, had been a friend. And she made this point of saying, hey, I see you're in the accounting program. I think you should come meet the people at PwC. You don't have to take a job with us, just come have dinner. And I really had no intentions of even exploring public accounting. I had every intention of finishing up my 5th-year degree in accounting and going on to law school. So Carly convinced me that free dinners would be a good thing. So I joined. It was just this really great experience. I met a lot of people, and they continued to build on some of the themes that Mercer had around what a career in accounting looked like, what opportunities there were, and the various different paths that you could take. And so I really got involved in the recruiting process and accepted a full-time position with PwC and started in the Atlanta office in 2001. It was kind of an interesting time to start in public accounting. I started in July of 2001, and short 6 weeks later, we had the 9/11 event, and Carly and I were actually standing in an elevator lobby together watching it unfold. So just kind of an interesting time to begin your career and kind of be on your own. And then Enron happened shortly thereafter, and that really sort of changed a lot of the landscape and how we in public accounting worked with our clients and with our client stakeholders. So I was in Atlanta for 6 years, and one of my mentors, and you'll hear me talk a lot about mentors, one of my mentors, I went to his office one day and said, "Hey, I'm kind of bored. Is there something different that I can do in the firm? Not that I want to leave this group or these types of projects that I'm working on right now. I just want a different experience." And so from that conversation grew this opportunity to move to PwC New York for a year and do a tour of duty with our tax accounting practice. And so for 1 year, I worked with 3 very senior partners supporting the entire US firm and to some extent the global firm in various aspects of accounting for income taxes. And so as you guys move through, if you're an accounting major and as you move through intermediate accounting, there's going to be this code, like this gap code codification, whatever we call it these days, called ASC 740, a very specific US GAAP around how we account for income taxes and financial statements. And that's what I focused on in that year. And after my year was up, I went back to Atlanta and used those skills working for a rather large Fortune 50 company. They were having a lot of turnover in their tax department. So I actually joined their tax department as loan staff for 18 months and did their income tax accounting for financial reporting. Well, and again, talking about mentors, sometime around 2012, I'm sitting in my office and our tax leader comes in and he's kind of catching up and he's like, "How are you?" And I said, "You know what, I think I'm bored." He was like, "Great." And so we had this whole conversation about how things are really great in Atlanta, but I just felt like I needed something a little more challenging and I wanted to take on a different opportunity. And from that, I got the opportunity to come to Houston. So in 2013, I transferred full-time to PwC Houston as a tax director. And it was a very different experience than either Atlanta or New York because Houston has a huge energy focus. If you think about the companies that are based here, you've got BP, you've got ConocoPhillips, Marathon Oil, really big energy focus. And so that was a great new challenge for me, learning the tax considerations around an energy company. So I was in Houston for a couple of years, and the PwC partnership admitted me into the partnership in 2015. And you'll see on my introduction slide, this picture on the top right, there's kind of like a group of people. That's actually a picture from my partner promotion day in the office. And it was a really great day. A lot of people celebrated with me. There's people in that picture that had a significant impact on my career as I was growing up through Atlanta and New York. They came into Houston to celebrate with me. And then there's people in that picture that were impacting my career at that time, either working with me on my teams or being mentors for me. And so it's been this pretty amazing ride at PwC. I've done a lot of different things. I've traveled the world. I've worked on any type of project you could possibly think of. It's just really been more than I ever expected. And the best part of it, and Carly might hit on this a little bit, the best part of it was my journey. It was very personal to me. I was in the driver's seat. I used my mentors. I used the people who I looked up to coach and guide me. But at the end of the day, I was able to take control of my own career and make it everything that I wanted it to be. And at any point that I felt like it wasn't sort of moving towards the goals that I set for myself, I was in a comfortable position and environment to have an honest conversation about what I was looking for. And again, it's been 5 years in the partnership. It feels like it's been a second. It's been great. Every day is challenging. Every day is different, especially in this kind of world that we're in right now. We'll talk more about it, but being very digitally agile, very important right now, and PwC has supported us through that. So maybe I'll stop talking now and turn it over to Carly. But if you guys have any questions as we go through here, just raise your hand, ask, chat, do whatever you need to do. Carly and I can talk forever, so definitely don't be worried about jumping in on us. Carly?
Tiffany, thanks so much. And good afternoon, everyone. We're so excited to spend some time with you to talk to you about PwC, our journeys at PwC and digital fitness, and some of the things our firm has done that we're really proud of, and resources to share with you. Hopefully you could tell just from Stephanie's introduction and then from Tiffany's introduction, as like it's really all about people. And that's what we are about PwC: experiences with our clients, experience with our partners, and experience with our people, because we don't make anything that sells on a shelf. And the connections that we make are truly important. And I would say it's one of the things that I truly love about this firm, and that keeps me here. And I would have never expected that when I joined PwC in 99. It's a little over 20 years ago. So I graduated from Mercer in 97, as Stephanie said. And I was an accounting major for a very, very short time. And Dr. Austin advised me that I shouldn't be. He was right with that one. Numbers is not my forte, but I do hire people that are really good with numbers. That's what I've made my brand known about. So I moved over to management and marketing, and it was not easy to get a job in those fields, let me tell you that. So I worked for Randstad. I did tons of little HR jobs, recruiting jobs, until I came across PwC, which was like the greatest opportunity for me. And in Atlanta, started kind of as an HR generalist and did a little bit of everything. And I knew my passion was on campus recruiting. My first fall, going back to different universities and getting to meet students. And as Tiffany said, take them to dinner and just get to know them, and then really introduce them to the opportunities, careers, and culture of our firm. And it's done some great things for me along the way. So as I've kind of rose campus recruiting in the Southeast and Atlanta, I also spent 2 years in Charlotte, North Carolina, which gave me really good preview to the schools all in the Southeast. And then I took on the role just of leading recruiting efforts in 2004 for the Carolinas down to Florida. And then when I was in that role, I got married to my husband, Tom, who is a Mercer bear as well. And then he and I had 2 children. So I took maternity leave. We have some great benefits at PwC, and happy to answer any questions about working mom and work-life balance, all that good stuff. My son, Luke, I had in 2008, and then my daughter, Morgan, in 2010. And when I came back from maternity leave, and I knew I wanted to continue on with my career, but kind of as Tiffany said, I was like, okay, I've been in the same role for a long time, although I had some leaves. I want to do something different. And I remember going to one of my mentors saying to her, I need a new challenge. I don't know what it is, but I need something that'll really challenge me and open me up some different opportunities. And the diversity recruiting leader role came up, which was really unique. Being in the South, we have a lot of historically Black colleges, and I spent a lot of time recruiting North Carolina A&T, Morehouse, Clark, FAMU, and it was a passion area of mine to make sure that any student, regardless of the color of their skin, had the same opportunities awarded to them for different career paths. So I spent a lot of time in the diversity space, specifically with HBCUs, but then with a lot of external partners like NABA and Alpha, Inroads, and I did a lot of recruiting with them. And I was so proud and privileged to take on the role of our diversity recruiting leader in 2011, which is when I became a director at PwC. And it's quite a challenge. Historically Black colleges, people of color in accounting was one of the main focus areas. But during that time, we built a veterans recruiting strategy, a strategy for recruiting individuals with disabilities, and continued efforts for gender and opportunities for female in the area of accounting, which is something that we're really proud of. So it was great, probably the most rewarding and challenging role, and then gave me great visibility to the US and the different markets that we have and challenges from state to state, from school to school, market to market. And then We went through a little bit of a redesign at the end of 2017, and I raised my hand to my boss and I said, I love what I do, but it's time, right? Kind of like Tiffany said, it's great being at such a big organization where you're able to look at your mentors and say, like, I know I like doing this, but I am a little bored. I need a new challenge, fresh blood, fresh ideas. And during that redesign, we restructured our entire recruiting team. So it was more nationally based. And I have the great privilege to lead our identification team, which is really the front lines, the lines that work with all of the universities that partner with faculty and administration, and most importantly, the students, the talent that we hire. And we hire at our firm about 5,000 full-time graduates a year just in the US firm, and about 3,500 interns a year. So pretty big numbers. And I have a team of about 110 campus recruiters that really focus on building those relationships. So it's been a tremendous career, and one that in the past, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the situation we're in, truly, these past few months of change, moving virtual. I have been working from home since 2011, but I do travel a good deal. And some of the pictures on my slide may show that. I do love, and Tiffany as well. We both travel a great deal for our job, but also for pleasure. And I had to put a picture in too from homecoming with my family, with the Mercer Bear too. So just a little insight to not just the career, but the person that I am. I'm also love to be active. And my running partner in the center, him and I have done 8 half marathons together. And the only negative is that he works at Deloitte, but the positive of that is he and I, those runs, the long runs we do together, I get lots of good career advice and insight from him. So he's truly a mentor of mine. So I know that was a lot. Tiffany, before we jump into the firm and then switch kind of gears and start talking a little bit more about digital fitness, anything else to add?
I don't think so. I mean, the only thing I might add is you would think that, Carly talked about being in this national role. I still get to work a lot with Carly because fortunately, because I'm not in Atlanta, I can't come and be on Mercer's campus or the University of Georgia's campus. I still enjoy recruiting. It's something I've been really active in throughout my time at PwC. So I don't just do accounting and I don't just serve clients. So I'm really active in recruiting, and I'm able to be one of the partner leads at Texas A&M. And so Carly, I think it was last fall, we were having like our last spring, we were having our big kickoff at A&M, and I was asked for Texas to do like the welcome at the dinner for the entire A&M. And I didn't know, I think Carly, you were there, and I didn't know you were going to be there. And you kind of like came out at the end, and we got to have like this like sorority girl scream reunion. It was fantastic.
It was fun.
So it's really great that Carly and I have been able, we first met in 1996, and we still get to work together today at the same firm with a very common goal, but from very different directions. And I think that's one of the things, you'll hear a lot about PwC is that we're a big firm, lots of great opportunities, and they're not just accounting opportunities. So awesome. Any questions? Do we have any questions that have come up so far? Or are we good to keep going? Stephanie, do you have any questions before we keep going?
Y'all can keep going. I'll save them.
Okay.
Okay, well, why don't we start just a little bit about big picture culture of PwC, and this really is our values and our purpose, which is, our chairman, Tim Ryan, we do, since this pandemic, we've been doing hands-on with him weekly, which is something I look forward to. I love hearing his outlook and what the leadership team is talking about, thinking about, and then what we're doing as a firm with our clients and in the community. So whenever we start any of those meetings, we come back to value shares and telling stories about how all the decisions we make and the time that we spend are really rooted in these values, the areas of acting with integrity, making a difference, and all the community outreach we do, caring for one another and showing that empathy and concern, working together. And we work together differently that we may have before. We're not in physical offices, but we're virtual. And I literally am on video almost all the time, all day, even if it's a one-on-one with someone or with a group, last week I taught a class for our leadership program in Atlanta for 50 people. So it's like we're constantly connecting and working together in unique ways. And then Reimagine the Possible, which is all about innovation and forward thinking, which I think we're forced to do a little bit in the virtual world we live in. And it roots us kind of to come back to the purpose of our firm, which is building trust in society and solving important problems. And that's kind of what we do and why we do it. So I thought I'd just share kind of high level, big picture with our firm, and the journey we've been on around digital outreach. And kind of this digital journey has been about 2 years in the making, but there's some really exciting things that the firm has done. Oh, before I jump to that, let me just talk really quickly, high level PwC professional, and then Tiffany, you could start us on the digital journey. So one of the things, this one is, I feel like I've talked about so much because we're coming to our year end. We're a July 1 company. We're coming to year end performance. So one of the things when we interview people, when we assess people for a project that they work on or for their year of work, we really measure against the progression of the PwC professional, which are these 5 dimensions. So I think what I love so much is rather than you be a college student who's doing interviews, these are the 5 areas we talk about, or a partner like Tiffany looking at her year-end impact she's had towards the firm. These are the 5 areas that we talk about. And I think that just makes us truly unique, that all we do, whether it be with our clients, with the community, with the people that we're teaming and working with, these 5 areas of growth, development, progression are truly important. Whole leadership is in the center, and it's about leading yourself and leading others. Relationships, as I've said a couple times, it's about the people and the relationships that we're building that are really valued, rooted in trust. The business acumen and understanding the knowledge of the business. And Tiffany, being in Houston, oil and gas, even when we just got on, started talking to us a little bit about oil and gas prices. So having that business acumen and knowledge, whether it be the specialty area that you're in or the industry that you're in. Technical capabilities, this is a huge range, but it's all about delivering quality in the technical space that you work in, right? So for Tiffany and I, very, very uniquely different technical areas that we're in, but still being able to deliver quality in that way. And then global acumen, which is really the kind of that big picture inclusion, making sure that we have a larger mindset for those that we work with and work for. So Tiffany, anything else to add about the PwC professional?
No, I'll say when we first kind of rolled this out, it was taking the place of the other sort of dimensions that we had used previously, and you kind of think, oh, here comes another one. But this is just a really wonderful way to approach your personal development as well as the impact that you have as a coach and a mentor on other people's development. And it really works. And when you think about these dimensions and, you think about the aspects of these dimensions that you want to focus on for development, it really does enable you to elevate yourself and progress through your career. So I'm really proud of PwC for acknowledging, building on this, and really embracing it and embedding it within the culture of how we coach and develop people.
Awesome. All right. You want to start us on our digital journey?
I will. So maybe, one of the things that Carly talked about on one of the slides about PwC is like that our values define our purpose, and our purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. And so as part of that, and one of our values is reimagine the possible, be innovative. As part of that, Tim, our senior partner, about 3 or 4 years ago, really challenged the way that we think about things and really sort of built this new strategy, which we call Your Tomorrow, to disrupt us as a firm, to one, make us uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, I think is when you have the greatest learning, to make us very uncomfortable, but also to enable us to think about where we were and where we wanted to be, like as a group of individuals working with a common goal, and how were we going to get there, and realizing that the world around us was really changing, and that we had to make sure we were at the forefront of that change, and that we were disrupting ourselves, disrupting our clients, and helping navigate through this change. And frankly, I was a little bit hesitant, I'll be honest, with some of the digital aspects because I thought, it's not broken, things are working. I had to keep reminding myself though, like we used to not need email, but now we really rely on it, right? So you have to be at the forefront of innovation. The world is changing. The way people want to work, the way people want to work with you is changing, and you have to change with it. And so this Your Tomorrow had kind of 4 prongs. There's 2 that are really important, and they're both kind of laid out here. One is the Be Well, Work Well, which is really focused on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual fitness, and whatever that means to you. Like, again, everything here is very personal to you and what it means to you. So how do the aspects of Be Well, Work Well work for you? And how can we as a firm and as leaders and supporters, how can we help you align to those goals? The other aspect of it was called digital upskilling. And that's where a big focus of our firm has been for the last 3 years. And, through what we've been going through the last 10 weeks, we shut our offices down March 17th, and we've gone to fully virtual working. It has been seamless. We haven't had, major disruptions in the way that we serve our clients. We haven't had disruptions in providing services to our clients or completing engagements. And I really attribute it to this path that Tim put us on 3 years ago around digital fitness. And so what is digital fitness? Well, digital fitness is about understanding the digital world that we live in and all the aspects of that digital world and how they fit together and how they're shaping the world in which we live. It's things around emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and 3D printing and the Internet of Things, and understanding how those all fit together. And what we've learned is that our clients are going through the same exact journey, but fortunately we seem to be just a little bit ahead. And so one of the challenges that we had was, how do you take a US firm of 50,000 people and how do you digitally upskill them without disrupting your practice and your core business so much that you don't serve the clients that you have existing? And so I think the firm has done a really fantastic job of developing all these different ways for us to digitally upskill. And you make the decision. Again, it's very personal. You make the decision with how do you want to digitally upskill. And so we have these things called learning bursts, which I personally really like. A few times a week, the lower right-hand corner of my computer, I'll get this little alert, and it's a learning burst. And it's a small little snippet around something that I'm trying to digitally upscale myself on. So one week it was 3D printing. Recently it was the best way to work virtually and how to use your camera and how to have, productive virtual meetings. And those little tidbits are never more than 3 to 5 minutes, but the learning from those 3 to 5 minutes is really fantastic. And then you can always take notes and then later go into some of the other methods in which we have to learn to find more out about that particular item. The other thing that we did, or we do these digital quests. So we all earn these digital badges. Carly, was it a year ago? We earned our first digital badge and we had to complete 4 different digital requests, or 4 digital quests. We're currently all working on our second badge, which is human-centered design. And I think we have until the end of June, right, to earn that badge.
Have you done that one
yet?
I'm
still working on mine. I'm still working on that one.
I did it's a good,
I
think the trainings are good. I don't think it's hard, but it's people function. Okay. You'll do great. You'll do great at that one.
Fantastic. Yeah, so that's on my to-do for this week is earning my next digital badge. We have this thing called Tech While You Trek. So think of it as podcasts. They're short podcasts around various different technologies. And again, you select what you want to hear about. So I find that these are really good to listen to when I'm on the treadmill. Just a really great way to kind of multitask, getting a little bit of my digital acumen increasing at the same time that I'm focusing on my Be Well, Work Well goals. And then I guess before I get to the digital fitness app, we developed this program called Digital Accelerators. And we're on our second round of digital accelerators. We had our first class come through and they spent 1 year, and it was 1,200 people, Carly, that we took out of the practice from all lines of service. So for year one, we took 1,200 people from associate to director out of the practice. And I think we even had a couple of partners like mixed in there. And they came from internal firm services. They came from tax, assurance, and advisory. So they came from all over the firm. They came together. And for 1 year, they were very focused on building digital acumen. So they worked with enabling our emerging technologies, such as extract, load, and transform tools. You may have heard of Alteryx. This is one of the things that they learned a lot about. They worked with data visualization tools. They worked with artificial intelligence. And what they did is they took a problem that an engagement team or the firm had identified, and they spent their time thinking about the various technologies available to us that we might be able to build to fix, to address that problem. So some of the things that came out of digital acceleration, so I'm going to be a little bit of a tax nerd for just a minute, but one of the really cool things, I know, yay, tax. One of the really cool things that came out of the digital accelerators, so when you're a tax associate, one of the first things you're going to work on is a tax return. And one of the worst parts of working on a tax return is taking a trial balance from SAP, Oracle, whatever system they're using, and coding that trial balance to map into the tax return software. And it's just a long sort of, you got to know all these different codes and numbers, and it's just, it can be a long, you know how long a trial balance can be a very time consuming process. So our digital accelerators developed with artificial intelligence. They developed a tool that we can take a trial balance, we pushed it through something we called Mapper, and using artificial intelligence, it will do the initial mapping of all the accounts in the trial balance. So it knows that if it reads a particular meals and entertainment, it knows which line to map that to in the tax return software. So we've been able to significantly decrease the amount of time that our associates were spending mapping trial balances and reshift that time to them understanding underlying operations of the client, underlying business, really getting more to the tax technical and the business operations aspects of our clients, and less just like the data entry and getting the systems to kind of speak to one another. So just really great things that came out of the digital acceleration program. And then finally, this last thing that we know we're going to spend a little bit of time on this is the digital fitness app. And it's an app on your phone that you get through the App Store or the Google Play Store. I don't have an Android, but you can download it to your phone, and it has various different ways, again, of learning. It's got reading, videos, quizzes, assessments on all manner of things digital. And it's an opportunity for you to increase your digital IQ. And it actually, at the beginning of the digital fitness app, you actually take an assessment and it gives you an IQ in digital. And then as you go through the various tools and learnings within the app, it's calculating your IQ. And you can actually see the growth of your digital fitness through the app. And again, it's something that I used before the COVID-19 and we all started working remotely and not traveling. I was in an airport 3 to 4 times a week. Like, I traveled every week, and I found the digital fitness app to be a really great way to use my time in an airport, which can quite frankly sometimes be downtime. But because those digital fitness app opportunities can sometimes be 5 to 20 minutes, it's kind of all in between, it was a way that I could spend in the airport waiting to board a plane to sort of work on my own digital acumen. So it's a great app. We have learnings from, I think, Harvard Business Review. There's things from like IBM. There's from TED Talks. There's all kinds of different content that we've built into the app that you can access. And I've just found it to be a really interesting and different, innovative, if you will, way for me to build my own acumen.
Yeah, it's really,
I'm going to take some coffee.
Okay, perfect. We've got a slide that goes more into the fitness app specifically, and we could talk about that more. I think the one thing that is just so unique about this entire journey is the acceptance and understanding that everyone learns differently. So, you know, as Tiffany talked about, like the learning bursts that come up, like people love that. To me, it was difficult. Like, it would be more disruptive. And I felt it's interesting, right? Like, it's like I've got calls back to back, or I've got my schedule set to just have that. I could never click on it. I was always dismissing it. But when I started to build time in my calendar for it, I would just go to the app or the assessment. And the Tech While You're Trek was probably my favorite. I totally agree with you, Tiffany, back in the day when we traveled. I listened to so many of those podcasts. And then the quests I thought were really cool because they were like case studies, if you will. Right? They were like a mock company and what would happen and how should they handle things. So you take quizzes. I'm like super competitive. So that type of learning where I like wouldn't get a question right. And then I'd be like, oh, well, why? It really, for me, worked. So I think that's what's so unique about it is there's so many different avenues of learning. And for some of this content, Alteryx and Tableau, it's intimidating. For some, I will tell you that where I've learned the most are the people that work for me, actually, like the senior associates and the managers and the directors on my team. I have learned so much from, and I've probably learned more from them in these past 2 months of virtual because we're on Hangouts like this and they'll share their screen and show me, we'll be talking about stats or data for schools or hiring or, diversity trends, a dip in, let's say we have a dip in female hiring in Texas. Okay, well, why is that? Where are the gaps? Was it at the enrollment was it at the application? Was it at the selection? Was it at the offer stage? And they'll show it to me visually. So you're able to see these charts and graphs and say, okay, then where are we falling down? Like, why are we not hiring a 50-50 split of females and males? So I don't know, it's a really, I feel like this virtual place that we're in gives an opportunity for those that really are strong in this area to show their skills and then to teach others.
Yeah, and Carly, because we started this journey 3 years ago, when we moved to this completely virtual sort of working scenario, we had so many different tools already available to us. So, we're using Zoom today. Later this afternoon, I have a 4-hour meeting that starts at 11, I think, or maybe 11:30. It's the entire thing's on Google Chat or Google Hangouts. With some of my clients, I've been using WebEx. We've been using Microsoft Teams. We do these meetings with a lot of our clients that are really fantastic in-person whiteboarding meetings, and we call them integrated global solutions. And they're these really wonderful meetings with a lot of rich content where we talk to clients very specifically about their international structures. And like our partners love to get up and write things on the board and like draw, boxes and circles and triangles. And we were like, oh, well, this is a big time of the year where our clients are really focused on those types of meetings. And now we're all sort of scattered. We can't fly Doug in from Cincinnati to have a meeting for him to draw on the board. Well, through Google, we actually have something called a Jamboard. So we've been able to develop and use an electric whiteboard in these sessions, and it's so incredibly cool. And I know, again, this is like geeking out a little bit on that, but it's so incredibly cool to see that we're able to bring what used to be a very in-person meeting with various different, things, and we're able to just replicate it virtually. So it's been a really, it's been challenging, but it's been a fun time to be part of an organization like PwC and to really be leading from the front with a lot of our clients when it comes to some of these virtual tools.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I love that Jamboard feature.
It's so cool, right?
I think
and the Post-it?
Yeah, that's so great how you could do the Post-it notes. And I feel like it's been a great way to like interact and engage with like a team too. So I totally agree with you. I've loved the tools that we've had. So I've already seen a question in the chat about recruiting. I'll come back to that one at the end when we kind of talk a little bit more about digital upskilling and digital journey. But please, if you guys have any other questions, just put them in the chat and then we'll definitely have some time to get to those. Okay, so outside of the app, which we're gonna go in detail, just some other things that you could be doing to digitally upskill yourself. So we have on our website, our careers website, some different data analytics courses that we've created, PwC's created through Coursera, which is like an online learning institution. So they're self-paced, on demand. I feel like they're great. Data analytics, I would say as a recruiter, is something that we look for and now is been a plus, and in some of our roles a requirement, right, where it's not just about business and accounting only, but that broad expanded skill set to data analytics or any kind of technical pluses that you could be getting. So those kind of things, I feel like this class online, and I can send out the link or make sure that you guys have the link to that. But it is linked on our website on our careers page for Coursera. Being able to take any electives in that digital space, as I mentioned, it's a plus, and it's becoming the more specialty practice that we have within tax, within advisory, within assurance. They're asking for that as a requirement. So we're looking for double majors, which is really hard to find. So any opportunity that you have at Mercer to do that, to do a dual major minor mix, or be able to take electives, those are things I definitely would recommend and put on your resume. Any kind of student organization or campus group focus that is all about technology and data, that being able to showcase your skills and expand your skills in that area, I think is really, really important. Consulting with professors, and then follow us online. And we've got all of our online pieces up there. We do a lot of pushes from our digital publications and updates from our campus handle, which you've got all of them for Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So let's talk a little bit more about the actual app, which we've got a code and for all of you to have access to. And the app is really like, as Tiffany said before, when you get into the app, you take this assessment. So it starts out for every individual where your skills are, because I do think, I know I said this before, but it can be intimidating, right? Like you might have never looked at an Alteryx workflow or Tableau. And some people may have spent a lot of time in that space, and others not even opened it and doesn't even know what it looks like. So because we're all on this wide spectrum, starting with that assessment and then having a score, and then there's recommendations of your learnings. And I think that's one of the really unique things about the app, is it makes it tangible and digestible for everyone, regardless of your skill set. And it breaks it up in these 4 areas, right? Like looking at the exact digital skills, your mindset. So having that, open learning mindset rather than a closed mindset, and your attitude towards that and your ways of thinking. Relationships, as I've mentioned a couple times already in our conversation today, how important those relationships, collaboration, working with others are, and then how you're able to foster that in a digital way. And then behaviors from the learning standpoint. Tiff, anything else from this digital fitness app to highlight here? Oh, sorry.
No, I'll just say that the one aspect of the app that I really liked that you touched on was after you take that assessment and then you set your goal, it gives you sort of like the path, and it can be anything from 20 minutes a week commitment to like an hour to 2 hours. And I really like, again, that I can personalize it to me to make it what I need, the way that I learn. And I'm not a very, I can't read for a long time and retain the material because I just read too fast. But on here, I can listen, and that helps. So I can do the podcast aspect. But then also the videos are really helpful for me because they seem to retain my attention a little bit longer, and I seem that I get more out of it. So again, it's all about my own preferences and how I want to learn, and it gives me those different opportunities.
Yeah, I totally
Plus I can
agree.
pick what I want to listen to.
Yeah, the mood, or depending upon how fresh you are with your brain or what kind of calls you had already that day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tiffany, one thing that I heard you say that I thought was so good is that we learn the most when we're uncomfortable, and we have all been so very uncomfortable, from students to professors to every industry. So what skills, I heard you say, Carly, like a double major is really a great thing for students to pursue. What would be a great combination for that PwC would look for in a double major?
I definitely, a lot of people used to go to the finance route, right? Accounting and finance. I would move away from that and do anything technical. So data analytics is probably the number one. And I know Mercer offers that, which is great. There's a question in the chat about digital badges. I highly recommend any digital badge you could get. and put that on your resume. I mean, not just for interests of PwC, but I would say any employers looking to recruit students that have a digital bad in any of the, whether it be any technical piece, right, SAP, like any details of anything technical. I mean, I could list them all out, but I would tell you anything's a plus. And having it on your resume to me just opens up, from a recruiter lens, an opportunity to ask a question about it and for you to showcase your skills or what you know. So I think that's key.
That's great.
Yeah, and Carly, I might just add to that, because one of the things that I was thinking about when we were talking through this is your resume is really important, right? It's that sort of like summary of who you are that helps an interviewer develop questions that they want to ask you around the things that you've done. There's a lot of things that you're likely doing in your group project or in your coursework that is very digitally focused, be it you're using Excel, maybe you're using, I don't know, all kinds of different things. Have those examples, find a way to get them into your resume in the right message and the right tone. But then also when you go into those interviews, have those examples ready to share when you get a question that they fit into. So I know one question as an interviewer that I often ask is, tell me about a time that you worked on a group project. What type of project was it? What type of team member were you? That would be a really, if you have a project that was digitally focused as a group, that would be a fantastic example to use, because you can hit on, one, how do you lead and how do you work with a team, but also how did you develop your digital skills through that project?
Totally agree. And I would say too, I mean, I just see the questions, any kind of project management, right? So not just technical, but project management is something that we look for, right? I mean, that is a definite plus. So to me, when it comes to anything additional, right, whether it be these electives that you're taking or certification badges that you're getting, those are all pluses. And then something I would put on your resume, whether it be in another section or specialized skills that you could talk about. And the more opportunities you have to bring them to life, like Tiffany's saying, because we have behavioral based interviews. So we ask, tell me about a time when, then we open the door for you to showcase the skills that you've learned and how you've put them to use. What other questions, Stephanie, do you have for us?
You guys are giving such great insight, so I really appreciate y'all spending the time with us today. Give us a skill that students would really stand out if they came in, something that would really stand out to you in an interview. What might you say on that?
Tiffany, anything comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really comes to mind to me is those students who come in confident, not overly confident, but very comfortable and sure of who they are and what they have to offer. And I think that's a really great first impression. So that first impression is a really important one. Be personable. So find a way to interact with the person that you're speaking with that makes it more personal to you and to them and not just another interview. And the biggest piece of advice that I can give anyone, and I had this advice given to me when I went through my partner interviews, have questions. And I tell all the students that I work with on campus, have the same question to ask everyone that you meet with, because you'll see themes within the responses that you're getting back with respect to that one question, and that should help you sort of gain insight into the culture and the type of organization that you're interacting with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yes. All your insight is just so helpful. It gives these students such an inside perspective of what you guys are looking for.
Yeah.
When would you, all right, first of all, what majors does PwC hire, and when should students start making the connection with you guys?
I'm going to give that one to Carly.
Yeah, I would say 80% of the roles we hire for, accounting is a requirement. There are very, very few roles that we look like people are management consulting. I think everybody and their brother wants to be a management consultant, and they take almost all majors, but they hire like a very small percentage. And they hire from very small targeted group of schools. So accounting, I think, is key to get your foot in the door with the firm. And then anything that's a technical kind of component with that. So data analytics, I would say we've got a lot of specialty groups in assurance and tax that are looking for an accounting and data analytics, or accounting and MIS. But the sooner the better. So there is a question in here, and I think this just ties in really well with the conversation we're having, is coming to campus, and that we used to come to campus, and what our plans are going forward. I would tell you the conversations I've been in the past month, this digital world and virtual world that we're living in is becoming more and more real. And we're having great success with using technology to recruit. So I think that we may be in this for quite some more time, thinking the entire calendar year, and not really going to campus. And so if I think back to this digital journey the firm's been on, and then what I've been asked to do as a recruiting leader at this firm, is to digitize our recruiting. So we used to go to 300 schools actively, and I had a much bigger team, and we were asked to pull that back for hiring numbers. How do we do it? How do we just let any and all students in the US apply? So all on our website, and then how we're able to use technology to screen, get to know students, interview them, and narrow the pool down. And we only have 120 schools that we actively go to in the US. And they give us a very large talent pool cross line of service, and they have a stronger ROI, right? So we get a bigger return on our investment. Mercer is not in that group of schools, but I think that you're really lucky to have access to us, because we'll get your foot in the door. And Stephanie always is sending me, and Julie sends me like the resumes, and I'm able to move those up the ladder for our recruiters. But most importantly for each and every one of you is go to our website, go to the careers website, look at the lines of service. Every job, if a job is open, that job is open to anyone and everyone to apply. And going back to what we look for, it's not just like a high GPA will get you in the door. It's some of the things that Tiffany mentioned. It's well-rounded, student that has work experience. It doesn't always have to be exactly related to accounting, but work experience, leadership skills on campus, community service involvement, all of those things that makes a well-rounded individual with strong leadership and communication is what we look for to get your foot in the door. So I just recommend that you update your resume, and I'm happy to help in any way I can with that. And that you do the research online, and then you're able to apply to any and all jobs that are open and available.
Hey, Carly, along that sort of line in the chat, there's a question around students who are very active in sports on campus. So maybe they're on the soccer team or the tennis team, but also in the business school. And maybe because of their commitments to sports and their major don't have time for a second major to do some of these data. Does that sports discount? And to that, I would say no. Like anything that you do extracurricular makes you a more well-rounded individual. And any activity, be it basket weaving or be it data analytics and everything in between, is an opportunity to develop leadership skills and opportunities to develop skills to work with a team, and how to be sometimes lead from the front and sometimes how to just, support the leader. So take whatever your experiences are and really boil them down to how they have built you to the person that you are, and how they will translate to skills that you're going to contribute to a future employer, regardless of where those things are.
Totally agree. That was awesome, Tiffany.
Great. Well, our time is coming to a close, but I just want to say, first of all, thank you all so much. It's so exciting to see how your Mercer experience has led to such rewarding and vibrant careers. And so we appreciate you sharing your expertise with us. For our participants, we will share Carly and Tiffany's LinkedIn profiles, so you'll have a way to access them. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for the time today.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Y'all too. Go Bears.